Hi, I'm Bob Roth, Managing Partner and Co-founder of Cypress Home Care Solutions. Since 1994, we've been helping older adults in the Phoenix community age gracefully and safely in the place they call home. Since 2014, I've been bringing you Health Futures, Taking Stock in You, a show dedicated to helping you live a longer, healthier, and happier life. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Health Futures. And today I have in the studio with me a longtime friend and repeat guest. He hasn't been on, and he was on last time virtually, literally almost 6 years ago when we were in the throes of COVID. And I'm really glad to have with me here today, I've got the CEO of Family and Nursing Care, Neal Kursban. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
You know, you're a second-generation family member in this organization. Take us back to the very beginning. How did family and nursing care start?
Well, it started in 1968, before I was born. So it gives you an idea of my age. My mother often calls me her fourth child. I have two older sisters, and then family nursing care was born, and then I'm the youngest of the quote-unquote four children. The story is, one office for 12 years, she and another woman, and my mother was kind of working part-time and had no idea that it would grow to where we are today. But the foundation is, and every time we've moved offices over the years, she's like, look at this. I just, this is so different from when I first started.
And what's crazy is how we conducted business back then, right? I'm sure you got a legal pad in front of you. You don't need that. I just want you to know. Neal, you're a longtime friend. I hope I make you feel comfortable. We're sitting in my living room. But in all seriousness, I mean, she probably did stuff on legal pads, not even Excel spreadsheets. And, and your mom's still with us today. I think she's, chairman of the board and or chairwoman of the board. And,
well said.
And, she probably oversees things, but sees how it operates today, and she probably just can't believe it.
Well, what's funny, what's cute is, so she's 88 years old.
Wow.
And she recently moved to a senior living community and absolutely loves it. But even today, I'll still get emails or comments or texts or phone calls about, are we doing this? Did you call the family member? Did you, so she's still actively involved in the company and will be until one day.
So what were the early values or principles that your mom built the business on? And how much of that DNA actually still exists today?
I'll answer the second part first and say all of it still exists today. And I am personally so grateful that my mother had those values. I mean, it sounds weird to say your mother's sort of your idol, but she really is such an extraordinary woman. And, when you're younger, you don't really appreciate it. And I remember my first first weeks or months at the company when I was like, wow, Mom, these people, look at the way they respect you and talk to you. And I'm like, this is so weird. You're just, she was just mom to me. And somehow she was always able to manage, to make time for us as, her children. But anyway, back to your question. What was the first part of your question again? I'm sorry.
First part of the question were the values.
Oh, the values, yes.
Yeah.
So we have today a mission statement and guiding values, and she was very heavily involved in the creation of today's values. And so not only are they part of our company and our DNA, but they're on, and not just on some wall, but every week with our entire staff.
Oh, I love it.
We go through a value and we have somebody at the company share how that value came to light. And then the following Wednesday, we do the same thing, different employee, different value. And so we have 15 different values. Then we go back to our mission statement. And then so every 16 weeks, we will go through one of our, we'll go through the cycle of our values. And it's really important, I believe, to keep it strong, and our staff really knows what's important to us as a company.
I love that it still all lives today, the values and the DNA.
Yeah, very much so.
So, you and I have known each other for a while. I'm guessing at least 15 years.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting you when I was on the Private Duty Home Care Association board, and we came to you saying, hey, how are you doing business? And we really wanted to learn your model. But, for me, I really want to know a little bit about you before we do a deep dive in home care, because you were sitting or living in Southern California. You're a surfer. I mean, you know what hang 10 is. So I really, you went from surfing in SoCal to running a home care company. Can you take us a little bit through your own journey?
Sure. So when I went to undergrad at UMass, University of Massachusetts in Amherst.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine said, since before we commit to being serious about life, what if we moved to Southern California? It's like, that's crazy. Let's do it. So I did. And then a couple other friends from the East Coast, from Massachusetts and Maryland, actually. So there was a bunch of us East Coast friends that actually lived in San Diego. And I didn't know what my journey was going to be. It wasn't like when I grew up, my mother said, hey, one day you're going to run family nursing care. But I did find it curious and interesting that while I was working, she'd like to see my performance reviews and how are things going in your job. And she was proud that her son was getting promoted.
Wow.
And I thought she was just proud as a son or as a mother, but turns out
she was testing you.
Apparently, which I didn't know, to her credit. And I still remember my oldest sister worked at the company at the time, and she and her then 1-year-old, my niece, her 1-year-old daughter, and her name was Julie, my sister, and she said, Neal, you got to come back to the East Coast and run family nursing care. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, you work there, you do it. She's like, no, I'm telling you, I see how hard mom works. I don't really want that lifestyle. I'm like, oh, okay, great. And then it took me a while to commit. I mean, this isn't as glamorous of a story as what you like to hear all the time. But then at the time I had a girlfriend, I'm living on the beach, I had my friends, so I wasn't quite, but then I did feel, I'll call it a slight calling at the time. And then as the years have gone on, it's, we'll talk about it, but it's really become part of my DNA, my own.
Wow. And it's joy that was the impetus to say, hey, come back.
I know.
And I want to ask one last question about Southern California and what you were doing. Did you learn any leadership stuff that you brought to family and nursing care? I mean, you worked. You weren't just surfing. So
no.
You were getting these report cards that you were sending to your mom. What leadership skills, what did you learn? I mean, we talked about family before we did the show. And
so I still recall my friends when I graduated college and I ended up working for Taco Bell. And I am so, at the time, are you proud of that or you're not? But now I look back, I'm like, what a tremendous experience. So there I was in my young 20s, and I was learning how to run a business. Each of these, at the time, they were like $1 million businesses. Right. And I became like a district manager, and I had a few at a very young age, and I had to manage people that like my dad's age or my mother's age. I'm like, and so I learned a lot of managerial skills that I remember my father used to always say, these are very transferable skills. Just the idea of managing, and you can take that anywhere you go. So little did I know how valuable that time was going to be later in my career when I ended up coming to family nursing care.
Wow. That's amazing. Then you sit back and you think about those days. Do you ever, just kind of go back in your head and say, wow, amazing the things that I did when I was young. And things are so different today.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to jump into family nursing care. So I really want to have you share with us and our listeners. You started in 1968. When I met you, I'm going to say it was around the 2010 mark.
Right.
You only really had one model of care. And now you do these two models, and you're very unique. Individually, you are.
Yeah.
But you're people that know Neal Kursban know that.
There is a uniqueness to me, sure.
There definitely is. But I mean, you have a uniqueness in your offerings because many home care companies don't. And I really think for me, before you answer it, you really solve a lot of the challenges that the consumers have. And you solve that by giving them options.
Right.
So I would love for you to talk about the various models that you've created there.
Okay, so going back to 1968, before I was born.
Not before I was.
Oh, there you have it. And not before my two older sisters. One of them's going to kill me for saying that. Anyhow, my mother was asked a question by, I've asked her many times, was it a lawyer or was it an accountant? And she still doesn't remember, but an advisor that said, what is your goal of opening this, what do you want to accomplish by opening this business? Because back then there was no home care industry. people stayed in the hospitals for a long
100%.
time, and they kind of got healthy. And
There wasn't assisted living back then.
right, there was no anything. So there was not even home care. So
Right.
she started a business, and Mango.
Okay. Mango.
I forgot the question. I'm sorry.
That's all
Let's
right.
go. I'll get right back
I
to
talked
it.
about the two models. What
All
makes
right.
us?
So, okay.
Yes.
All right. So my mother was asked, "What do you want to accomplish?" And she said, "I want to give workers as much money as I can, and for the people that are going to get the care to be charged as little as possible." And the person said, "Well, first of all, good luck being in business.
Right.
And secondly, my mother's got a huge heart. And so,
I love that, by the way.
yeah. And so that was really her. And that's part of our values and our DNA that we spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
And so the advisor said, well, you should set it up where the workers are contractors or independent contractors. Or maybe the word was contractors back then. And she said, what's that? And he said, don't worry about it. So what we didn't know back then was that became what is today called the registry model of home
Right.
care. So you're right. In my earlier days, I grew up on only the registry model because that's what sort of happened.
Right.
And she didn't know any differently. And there wasn't drama around having different models. But then as I spent more time at family nursing care, I don't know if I'm going to your next question, but
No, keep going, man. You're doing great.
but I realized that there are some concerns about only having just the registry model, which was successful, and families were very happy. Caregivers were happy. It wasn't as if it was a good thing, but I felt, it'd be better also to have the other business model where the workers are employees of the company. So we now have both.
And was that 2010-ish?
It was around that time, maybe a couple of years prior,
Okay.
but 2008 maybe.
But at the same time, I mean, you're able to offer two models to the consumer and give them choice.
Right.
And you're able to tell them the difference between the two,
Right,
which
right.
is really
In a
exceptional.
very transparent way.
Right.
So we tell them the pros and cons, and price is the main motivation to take the registry model.
Mm-hmm.
But I could go into way more about that. But
So home care is a very traditional industry, and family and nursing care has certainly pushed the envelope. And I would love for you to share some of the innovations that you've done. Your industry, you're considered a legend. You've been around since 1968. I mean, there are
that's a powerful word. Let's not get carried away here. But we'll go with that.
but we will go with that. But
Sure.
I mean, what has been the impetus or the reason why you've been able to sustain yourself? And I really truly believe is innovating.
I would say it's one thing I've always had is a very competitive nature. So I think I may come across a certain way to the outside, but inside I have this sort of, if you're a Kobe Bryant fan, or like a sort of a Mamba mentality to just not just succeed, but to succeed and sort of dominate. But I don't like to advertise that. So can we strike that from anyway? So no, but I really have this really
No, I like that.
It's a very strong competitive drive. And so for me, if we're not growing, I feel like we're like
dying.
I'm failing.
We're dying.
Neal Kursban, had nothing to do, sounds very egocentric for me to say this, but I feel like if we're not growing, it's a concern. And for me personally, that is not a winning mentality. And so, we don't grow a lot year over year. I had shared with you prior to this, and over the years that we pretty consistently grow around 8% a year. And this year was no different, 2025, another year of 8% growth. So it's very methodical. It's sustained.
Yeah.
It works. You compound that over time and you get to be, I guess, a legend. That's funny. But anyhow, you get to be, you do something for long enough,
Right.
and you keep growing on a very measured way, then you get to be a much larger company.
So that Mamba style and, the competitive nature. I know a little bit about you. You went to school at UMass Amherst. I think you played sports there, didn't you?
I did.
Did you play soccer?
I did play soccer.
Yeah. I really believe, and I share this with a lot of people I do meet with that have been former athletes. I think that's a innate quality that we have, and it's a learned quality because we learned it on the field, and we learned it from our coaches, and we have that winning mentality. I mean, I too played collegiate ball. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I get that feeling, and you've instilled that winning. We're winning attitude, right?
I do. Even board games. Like even when my kids are young and my wife is like, I'm proud that I'm beating my 6-year-old child and like, oh, I got you. And she's like, he's 6. I'm like, but I won. Like who does that as a parent? Sadly,
do you
it's me.
dance?
I
when
wish.
you win?
Maybe I'm a little gloating, but that's he's 6. I mean, now he's a lot older, but anyhow, so
Was that Sam?
Yeah, it's the youngest of all of them. And I'm like, I'm gonna break this kid because I'm like, I would joke around. I'm like, I'm gonna get I said, he's a young guy, but I'm gonna. Anyway, he now has a very competitive spirit, and boy, does he love to beat his dad. And what's incredibly humbling, very humbling, and it still bothers I'm on radio, bothers the heck out of me.
He's better than you.
He's getting better at me at certain things, and it's killing me. You're supposed to be proud of your son now.
Yeah.
I'm like,
he's the 2.0 version.
Apparently.
There you go.
So
I want to go deep on culture, sustainability, and respect. Okay, so for those that know you, like I do, you have a caregiver retention rate that is unfathomable to most of us. And I really want to know, while the industry struggles with this, can you give some of us the secret sauce to really make that caregiver retention rate? I haven't heard it for 25. I've heard it for years before. I would love to know where your rate was in 2025. Yeah. And I really would like to know what it is now. And I also would like to know, what do you attribute that to?
So I didn't realize pre-COVID when COVID hit, there seemed to be a much greater worker shortage. And I ignorantly didn't realize that most companies are not necessarily as caregiver-centric as we've always been. So again, my mother's foundation was to pay the workers as much as possible.
Right.
And the first thing is, if you're in a lower wage income bracket and company A is going to pay you more than company B, a lot of caregivers, that word gets out. And so we just thought it was the right thing to do to pay them more money. So we're not backed by, there's no board or no private equity it's just us making decisions about our own company. So I think it's something simple as just paying the workers more was just what you do. And then on top of it, if your culture is that it sounds so cliche, but to really truly treat them like you're honored that they're working at your company because we know they have choices. Mm-hmm. And when we call them sir and ma'am, they're like, what? So, but just, amazing caregivers are it's the business we're in. And I would argue that we've sort of cornered that market in the markets that we're in because word gets out that not only are you going to get paid more, you're going to be treated well, you're going to be treated with respect and dignity. I mean, not just words, but truly. And, we have like recorded lines. And so we can hear if there's a situation that happens and our office wasn't treating them with the right dignity and respect that they deserve, then that's on our staff and we got to talk to them about it. It doesn't mean, anyway, so we really want to balance, we just want to take care of the caregivers. And make them, and they're so proud. I mean, one of the things I'm most proud about is they say, we do third-party surveys, it's not one that the industry uses, but
I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah, but the number one highest rated at the 98th percentile is they say, I'm proud to work at family and nursing care.
Wow.
And I get tremendous pleasure from that. So to answer your retention question, it's back down. We're back down to 11% turnover. And again, if you pay them well, you treat them nicely, and there's a lot of other things we do for the caregivers, but those two basic things, and you provide them work,
and you give them respect.
Yeah, and that's so. Is it really a secret sauce? I mean, I don't know. I guess you could call it that, but to me, it just seems I guess that's how you're raised. That's all I've ever known, and so that's all we've ever done, and then we just keep doing that. But now it seems like, wow, we got to be more caregiver centric. I'm like, well, that's your business.
We're already there.
Right. That's your business. I mean, you got to these are the ones that are out there making the difference in the older adults' lives.
I mean, we don't have a warehouse back there with caregivers all sitting on racks ready to go. We don't have widgets. I mean, we have to do our best to keep our caregivers happy, and pay is a big part of it.
Yeah.
And I know you do a little something extra too with overtime. You do allow people to go into overtime, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I should speak to that because we do
Please
allow.
do.
Yes, because they do work. We embrace the caregivers working more than 40 hours a week because we do know clients prefer to not have so many caregivers coming in and out of their home, and the caregivers don't want to have to get a second job because it's hard to live on 40 hours a week at $15 to $20 an hour, whatever they're making in their local market. And so in our world, and we already pay them, their base wage is already on the high end, and then when they're working many hours, some of them work 84 hours a week, like 12-hour days, 7 days a week. So
Wow.
the first 40 hours are at, say, 20 an hour, and the next 44 hours are at 30 an hour. So they're, we had, in fact, I was looking at some of our payroll reports, and we have several caregivers that are making 6 digits because they make so much money in overtime.
Wow.
You didn't know that? Yeah.
No,
it's
that is really incredible.
yeah, we have a handful and several, at least 30 of them make at least 90,000 or more.
Well, I mean, look, it is paying them well for sure. And I think anyone that's listening, running a home care agency, should hear what Neal Kursban's saying. And it is really respecting them, paying them, and really giving them a platform to really thrive.
But here's the other tricky part is, and this is where most companies say, oh, it sounds great to do that, but we don't actually charge the client more money when the caregivers work time and a half. So I'll eat those margins.
Wow.
Because again, the families just want to have an aid. They want to have a very simple bill that says, here's my $35 an hour for care. And just to say, well, these hours are at 35 and these are at 47.50. I mean, it just can get complicated. So,
but it goes back to Sandy's values.
Yeah. So we're just meeting the values by getting the workers, and then they stay with us. And so we have very low retention. And of course, I'm going to remind the audience that we do treat them very well as people. And we're proud of that.
Well, you have sustained a home care agency. My math tells me 57 years, 58 this year. You could be 58 years old. Wow. Crazy. You're not 58.
No, I'm not.
But
I'm the youngest.
But your business is.
Right.
And you've been able to evolve, come up with the employer-based model along with the registry or 1099 model. And you bolt on services. And I know one of the things I love about you is you're not afraid to try things. True. As big as you are, you're an entrepreneur at heart. And there are times where you bolt on a service line, and one comes to mind. It just didn't work, but you gave it a shot.
Right.
But that's one of the things I really like about you, Neal. And I know we don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
And as an entrepreneur and a veteran of this industry, where do you see the next 5-10 years home care going?
Well, my hope is we get more sophisticated. I still feel there's a shortage of outstanding agencies, registries, the whole home care, where an aide goes into the house and they create a wow experience for the older adult, their spouse, the adult children. And at the end of all this, I mean, we could talk for hours, but at the end of the day, it's a great caregiver in the home with the family. And so there's a lot of work that goes in. As you said, there's not some shelf where you just pull a caregiver from, but just, it's like, don't overcomplicate it. That's what we do. And just your infrastructure to build it and structure it in a way, I think there's just a lack of sophistication. And so that is why I've been on some national boards over the years, because I'm really, I guess, having done this for so long and achieved this now legendary status, which I'm still going to roll with that, Bob. I like it. I'm getting comfortable with it now.
Yeah.
No, but joking aside, I mean, I just want to lift the industry because I've been doing this long enough to know that at the end of the day, if we're impacting so many lives, and let's just create an amazing experience for every family that gets an aide in their home.
So we have a shift going on right now. And that shift is, you and I have been doing this long enough. We've been caring for predominantly the greatest generation, the silent generation. And now boomers are coming into the fold. And that, I don't know for you in your marketplace, but nowadays it's more and more the clients that we're enrolling into our services.
Yeah.
And boomers are going to want care very differently. I'm a boomer. I know you're not. Gen X,
Gen
right?
X, you
Gen
got it.
X, but I'm a boomer, and I can tell you right now that Samantha Joe, who you know,
I do know.
if she
Your
were
amazing daughter. Let's just put it out there.
well, I have 3 amazing daughters, so
True.
Allie and Jess too.
Right.
But I do want you to know that if she came to me or came to my wife Susie and said, "Hey, let's get Dad a caregiver," I just don't think that's something that I would be really inclined to accept. and I really think it's the evolution of where we're going. You got people like Peter Attia, who's wrote the book Outlive and talks about medicine 1.0 versus medicine 3.0, and really talking about preventative and really living the best life you can. I think I'd be more akin, and we can have this conversation here today and maybe start this movement.
Okay.
Is to move the nomenclature of a caregiver from naming it a caregiver to a personal assistant.
Right. We actually did that for my own father when he got care.
Yeah, and we do that now too.
That's interesting.
But we need to make that the standard, because the connotation of a caregiver is really changing briefs and wiping butts and that's not really it. So much of the work we do is companionship.
Yeah.
So much of the work we do is helping those that are solo aging, which is about 1/3 of our population, 65 and older, to be able to age in place and be as independent as possible. So I know you didn't ask me, I asked you.
Right.
But I really think,
I agree.
I really think that we need to move to that personal assistant phase
That's
for our future.
I like it. I agree.
What excites you most about the future? And certainly what concerns you the most here serving the aging population that we do?
Excites me most. I believe, I think it's in any industry, it's healthy when there are more businesses getting into a space, because the cream usually does rise to the top. That's just capitalism 101. So I do, people kind of get concerned that there's more companies getting into the space. I think it's healthy. I think it's good. And the ones that aren't as good are not going to stay in business. It's really that simple. So I do think the bar continues to lift as more and more more and more companies get into this space. So I just think that the quality of the baby boomers in 5 years or 10 years that might be getting care from an assistant will be thankful that there's so many more companies getting into this, and quite frankly, getting out of this, the ones that are not performing or not meeting the bar. So it does excite me. Just strictly competition is going to make things better.
Cream rises. I love it.
Cream rises. Yeah. With that sinking, the ships rise. What's the Kennedy thing? There's a quote.
No, it's rising tides lift all
Thank
boats.
you. Rising tides lift all boats. I knew it was in there somewhere.
There you go.
So what concerns me? Regulation. I think and many times it's well, let me back up. We're private pay. So we're not getting money from the government. We're getting it from the people's pocketbooks. So you don't need to overly regulate that, because someone's going to really quickly stop and say, I'm not paying $35 an hour because you didn't answer the phone in a way I liked, or you didn't send me a caregiver that I liked. And so they're going to stop. Like this side of the private pay home care side of it, I don't think it needs to be overly regulated. I do believe in baseline regulations. So let me make sure I'm clear on that, but not overly regulated. And in certain areas of the country, it can be unnecessarily and foolishly cumbersome and cause issues actually as a result of overregulation.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, we do need to protect one of our most vulnerables, but we also need to make sure we have some type of oversight, and overregulation is not a good thing. And certainly,
and underregulation is a bad thing too.
It's a bad thing
too.
So
I do want to say that as well.
No, but I will say, you mentioned about the number of agencies coming into the business and how cream rises. They're going to have to be more agencies, because the 65-year-old population is going to double in 2 decades, and the 85-year-old population is going to nearly quadruple. So how are we going to care for all these people?
Right.
You know, agencies like ours can grow, but we need more people. As our friend Peter Roth says, we need more frenemies, right? We need more people that are in the business, that do the work we do it the way we do it,
Right.
and really, like Sandy says, provide great service, pay the caregivers well, and make it as affordable as possible. And those 2 things are hard to do, and you guys do it really well.
Well, again, and what does that mean? It means that I, as the owner of the company, have to be willing to make less money than I otherwise could.
Right.
And so I'm not personally driven by how much money I make. So I think that there is other factors at play. So if there's all about the bottom line, then you literally can't do what I'm doing.
Right.
Because you will not have as much money flowing to the bottom line.
100%.
So
100%.
that's the trade-off.
So as far as innovations and new models and ideas, what are they thinking about, or what are you thinking about over at Family Nursing Care? Anything new that you got cooking that, here we are on Health Futures that you can share with us? What are some of your thoughts, and what are some of the things you're tinkering around with?
So probably one of my biggest frustrations is technology, but I strongly believe that technology is an accelerator of our growth, despite how frustrated I am with the technology that is out there today. So, I mean, we invest a tremendous amount of money into what we can do to make things efficient and streamlined inside our walls so that we don't have to raise the rates to our clients if we can make ourselves very efficient internally. And I think technology plays a huge role in that as we've scaled to the size that we are today. When you're smaller, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter as much. You can go old school with a notepad and know
Right.
your list of clients and caregivers if you have a dozen of each. You don't need all the, but if you're going to scale, I think technology's it's crucial. And what does that mean? I mean, there's different types of technology. The idea of recorded lines. So I mentioned that earlier. We have recorded lines, and it's not looking for gotcha moments. It's actually highlighting, truly training. What is that when you call a
training moment?
Yeah, no. But I'm saying when you call like a company that says your call may be recorded for quality,
training and quality purposes.
Yeah. And actually, in our world, it is not looking for gotcha moments. It really is.
Yeah.
So that the next employee that comes on we have like things that will save that are just, this is how you this is the model interaction with a caregiver or with a client. And then you can use the AI side of call recording, of the recorded calls, to find, let's say you're doing an intake and the daughter or son is talking about cost or expensive or whatever keywords you want to plug in. Instead of having to listen to the whole intake, you go to the 9-minute, 46-second mark, and there's that, and you can just kind of listen to that part of the intake, or whatever word you want to put in. But just technology. I mean, I'm just giving you a couple examples.
Sure.
But,
No, I love that, and you know that we've adopted some of that, and I know you met my chief of staff,
yes,
Spencer. So
smart fella.
Yeah, he is a smart fella, but I mean, it's really streamlined our operations. I mean, to utilize technology to do what I like to refer to redundant and repetitive tasks that aren't making decisions, and it's more transactional, not relational, so that we can be more relational in our encounters with caregivers, clients, and their families.
And I'll say that I know AI is obviously the buzzword nonstop, and we've incorporated some AI to make things more efficient, but we're a laggard. So despite everything you're hearing saying, so we're trying to be as efficient as we can. Of course we use AI in certain areas, but we are not using it to its full capacity yet. And it hasn't been from a lack of effort. I mean, you mentioned the number. So we've tried, and like the implementation of it sounds good when the salespeople come in, but then in the reality, we have struggled with it really operationalizing it at scale. And so, again, technology is my biggest frustration, but I know it's the greatest need.
I might be able to help you.
We do have to talk, right? You mentioned that before.
We're going to dinner after this, so we'll chat. We'll chat.
I look forward to hearing about it.
So, I want to hit you up with a couple of rapid fire questions. Neal, I love you, man. I'm going to put you on the spot.
All right, here we go.
I have a couple of questions I want to run by you. So, what one word would describe home care today?
Awesome.
What word would describe home care in 2035?
Exhilarating.
All right. You know what? It may be my turn back then, or when that time comes.
Oh, you got come on, man. You're too young.
All right. So I know you talked a little bit about this, but what's some of the best leadership lessons that you learned from your mom?
You will, just because you have a title doesn't give you the right to treat anybody any differently.
I like it.
And, you know, a lot of people listening probably had their parents say, you treat the garbage man the way you treat the...
No, but true.
Well, you can't say president anymore, but, you know, the way you treat... sorry. Anyway, the way you treat everyone the same. And so, I know it sounds basic.
No, but it's so true. I mean, look, you know I'm a father of girls.
Right.
And I had 3 weddings in 23 months. Wow. And one of the lessons I taught my daughters was watch how whoever you date treats the help. Mm-hmm. And if they treat them like crap, that's who you're marrying.
Yeah.
And if they treat them with respect, that is who you're marrying.
Yeah, I love that.
So there's a lot of truth to that.
Well, my mother, that is how I was raised, and it is a little strange, you know, as the company has grown, and there's times where people have called me sir, and I'm like, what?
Who are you talking to?
Oh, me? Oh, yeah, sir. I'm like, seriously? I kind of like it, but it's weird. But anyway, just at the end of the day, we're just people. And so
I love it.
It's really that simple.
All right, you ready for a hard one?
I'll do the best I can.
What's the hardest decision you have had to make as CEO?
So one of the beautiful things about family nursing care is my office. In addition to we talked about the caregiver retention, I would say my office retention is extraordinary. People,
they don't leave.
They don't leave. For better or for what? No, I mean, we do. It's a joke at our company because we're very thorough about who we'll hire. I mean, they have to go through a lot of interviews, and I still interview anybody, any position. I think that there's no more important decision you can make than who's your people. But, you know, but we do also give people a very long leash. And so we'll give them the opportunity to fail. And on the one hand, we'll reward it until they keep making the same mistakes. And then we're like, okay, we got it. So we'll give people a chance to succeed. And then often most self-select out if it's not working out. But some people just don't quite get it. Mm-hmm. And that part's really hard because you're thinking like, okay, we've had these conversations and somehow there's like a disconnect. And so, I mean, this goes back a number of years, but I remember me struggling with one of my executives. They just say, how are we missing each other?
Right.
And we're on the same team, aren't we? Like it felt like it. And then eventually, I don't like to pull rank, but I remember saying, I said, you're putting me in position. Either you got to get on board or not. And that was really hard because there was many years of a working relationship before, and that person is no longer working with us.
I mean,
she's a wonderful person. Just it was really hard for me because I just kept thinking, like, how could you? Like,
do you know why it's hard?
Yeah, tell me.
Because you have a caring soul, a caring spirit. That's why you're in this business. You have empathy. Most people that are in this business have empathy. Yeah. You care.
Yeah.
And you care about people, and I get that. I've been in those shoes before. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
What's the most underrated role in home care?
The caregiver recruiters.
I love it. No, true.
I mean, in my view, I mean, it's talked about, but it's not talked about. Like those decisions that are made about which caregiver you're going to bring on is going to make or break the success of your company. And they don't get a lot of attention. They get attention, they don't get a lot of attention. So anyway, that to me is the most underrated position.
What keeps you up at night?
I sleep well.
All right.
I don't take melatonin. I'm good, man.
You're good.
No, I mean, listen, I'm proud of the team that I've built that has kind of put a moat around me to not have to worry anymore. In fact, my president's like, Neal, it's my job to worry. Your job is to get some good sleep. I'm like, I love you, man. So no, believe me, I put in the years and I've had, but I don't know. I don't really have, I just kind of roll with things now.
Night owl or morning person?
Night owl.
Beach or mountain?
Beach.
Of course. Of course.
Despite the beautiful views here that we're essentially in the mountains, but yeah.
If you weren't in home care, what would you be doing?
I would be running a business. I think, again, talk about transferable skills from earlier, just in management, and then just learning all the aspects of whatever I feel this many years of running a company, I could take that. It's about the people, and it almost wouldn't matter what the business is. Sounds a little arrogant, but I do believe I would be able to take.
Would it be like a servants type business like we do now?
Specifically.
Yeah.
So I don't.
You haven't given it much thought?
No, I haven't.
That's all right.
I guess I love what I do so much, it doesn't really occur to me. No, it's not like I don't look over my shoulder and wonder what if.
You never had dreams of being a fighter pilot or anything like that? No?
No. I really enjoy what I do.
I love it.
Of course it's work, but it doesn't feel like work most of the time.
Neal, families may be listening to this and facing really difficult decisions right now. What do you want them to know above all else when they're thinking about engaging an agency for care?
I would say don't overthink it, because in home care, you can always say, we're stopping care. So I know there's this huge hesitation as if mom or dad or spouse is making a 100%. Life decision. Yeah. It's the end of their life. It's like, no, just try it for a day or two. See if the company that thinks, just try it. And if it happens, and it's the company's responsibility to find an amazing caregiver, and if that's not a good match, then try it again with a different company. But at least give it a go. And I would say at least try to convince mom or dad to give it a week. Sometimes you have to guilt them in because what are they going to do all day? I mean, I'll share a personal story with my own father. When my sisters and I were talking about him getting care as he was aging, he has since passed. And and I remember having to set the interview up in my kitchen table, and my dad came and the assistant / caregiver came, and my dad was pleasant and his mind was still sharp. His body was struggling. And he said to the caregiver, what do you, I know my kids put you up to this, but really there's going to be nothing for you to do. And my sisters and I are like, okay. And so he asked her, are you more, because if you're going to be there, you're going to watch the grass grow or the paint dry? Because she's like, I'm more of a paint dry kind of gal.
Oh, I love that.
And I was like, he got her. She got on me. I was like, that's the moment because she could hang with my dad. And he had a tremendous sense of humor. Right. Anyway, 5 years later, where she was in and out for short periods of time, in and out for the years, and like anything else, became part of the family. And so, anyway, I would tell families, give it a shot, give it a go. You never know, and try to you have to sometimes guilt your parent into just trying.
It's interesting. I lost my dad, I think just maybe a year before you lost yours, maybe 2. I know what we did at Cypress, and I know what you do at family and nursing, but I never was really put in a role so deeply connected, because I did have care for my stepmother and my mother 23 years ago, but I was very connected to the care my dad was getting. And I got to wear those shoes, if you would, to be the adult child, basically requisitioning the care for my dad. And I got to see the bond that happened with the caregivers. Oh my gosh. I mean, my dad had this one male caregiver who was a nursing student, and the two of them were thick as thieves.
Aw.
And I'm going to tell you,
You're going to get me all.
I know they got into trouble, man. I
Yeah,
know
I love it.
Yeah, they really did. And I know that my
Hey,
dad.
what was your dad's nickname again? It was
Noodles.
Noodles, that's right.
Noodles.
Yeah.
And Noodles, he loved eating food.
Mm-hmm.
And, his diet was somewhat restricted towards the end of his life, but that didn't matter.
Yeah.
And Bryant would take him out
Aw.
and I'd say, "What did you have to eat?" What?
I love it.
But the bond, and we still stay in touch. And I don't know if you stay in touch with the caregivers that care for your dad.
Yeah.
Well, they work for you, but my nursing student went on to become a nurse, and he actually lives in the Midwest now.
Oh,
So
that's
it's very
neat.
cool.
I know, it's
So Neal, we're wrapping things up here. So great to have you here at Health Futures, and so great to see you. So is there any last question or thought that I haven't really hit you up with? Something that you want to leave our listeners and our viewers about Neal Kursban and family and nursing care?
well, not necessarily about Neal Kursban or family nursing care, but just, again, this home care industry, it's booming. And I would make sure that as a family member, you do your due diligence. That's a lot of do's in there. But you do your due diligence to make sure that you are finding the right company ultimately to care for your loved one. And, and how do they answer the phone when you call them? And if you didn't get a good vibe, like we said, there's a lot of competition out there. So just don't overthink it. But once you find one, go for it.
Sage advice from my pal, my buddy, Neal Kursban.
Thank you.
Neal,
Yeah.
thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
Thank you, our viewers and listeners, for joining us here today. Neal Kursban, make it a great day.
Yeah.
Have a great week, what's left of it.
Yes.
And we'll be back next Friday.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit cypresshomecare.com.